Përshëndetje të nderuar teleshikues të Report TV, jemi spostuar këtu në rezidencën e ambasadës britanike në Tiranë me ambasadorin e këtij shteti të madh dhe mik të Shqipërisë, siç është Britania e Madhe, ambasadori zotin Alastair King-Smith, për të folur në fakt për javën kulturore të Britanisë Madhe që starton në 1 shtator dhe ku do të ketë shumë aktivitete, por edhe për te javës kulturore për t'i pyetur ambasadorit disa nga temat e rëndësishme që janë edhe në fokus të opinionit publik shqiptar. Zoti ambasador, përshëndetje, kënaqësi që të kam në këtë intervistë.
Përshëndetje dhe është kënaqësi ime të jem me ju gjithashtu.
Siç thash, Britania është nga shtetet mike të Shqipërisë dhe po organizon javën e saj kulturore, siç bën dhe disa nga shtetet e mëdha të vendit dhe që janë gjithashtu aleate të Shqipërisë. Java kulturore starton në 1 shtator. Cilat janë programet më interesante që keni menduar?
So first off, it's a great pleasure to be launching the British Cultural Week, and I think it's a great initiative to really strengthen the cultural and soft power connections between our countries and between our peoples. There's a lot to celebrate culturally. Albania has a really rich culture and history, and of course so does the United Kingdom. So during this week we're going to start off with some sport. We'll be having a cricket match on Skanderbeg Square, and I know that cricket may not be quite as well known in Albania, but of course we play it a lot in Britain as well as internationally. I mean, already Albania does a lot on football, so we thought we'd add in cricket as well. And then we're going to move on to music. You may know Rita Ora is coming for a fantastic concert on the 6th of September. And of course she's British, an international superstar and pop singer, but of course at her heart Kosovan and Albanian, and it's great to bring those connections together through music. And then we're going to move on to other things. So we'll be celebrating literature, the role of British authors in Albanian culture and the connections culturally as well.
Ndalemi pak tek cricket. Loja e cricketit ka shumë kuriozitet për Shqipërinë. Ju do të luani vetë, zoti ambasador?
I will, and we're hoping that we'll have both a British team and an Albanian team competing, but I suspect we'll mix it up as well. We're not going to make it too hard. We want it to be fun, we want people to join in, and we want people to come and see and watch and maybe laugh at us a bit. I may not be very good at batting and catching because I haven't played since way back when I was 16 at school, but we're looking forward to showing that to others.
Vë bas se do të luani përballë kryebashkiakut të Tiranës?
Yes, so we're hoping that the mayor of Tirana and some of the other senior people in Tirana and Albania will come along, whether to play or some of them are a little bit worried about playing. They say they're not that great sportsmen, so they might watch. But both are great, so it's important. You know, always I've found sport, obviously it's about the sportsmanship of playing, but it's also by putting on a really good show. And I've really enjoyed watching matches, whether that's cricket, football, rugby or others. So that's a fun thing. In fact, boxing we had as well with Florian Marco, of course, just last week. British, Albanian, based in Britain, but Albanian boxer here as well.
Ju përmendët dhe Rita Orën, këtë këngëtare mjaft të njohur shqiptaro-britanike. Çfarë kontributi japin artistët, por edhe sportistët në forcimin e marrëdhënieve mes dy vendeve?
It's a really good question because to me, I think those in the cultural field have a really important role. They are often role models for young people. They often, what they do, what they say, their songs, their messages reach out to people in a way that governments can't. And that's really important, and I'm really glad that Rita's going to be coming here and showing how you can be a success. And it doesn't matter whether you've started life in Kosovo, in Albania, in Britain, but you can be an international success story too. But it requires really hard work and then, you know, really using your talents.
Një nga fushat e javës suaj kulturore është dhe letërsia britanike. Menjëherë të shkon mendja tek Shakespeare. Çfarë duhet presin lexuesit shqiptar për te?
Well, of course, I mean, literature is a really important field, and it's interesting how William Shakespeare, Charles Dickens and others are well known to many Albanians from how it's taught in school. But I think more than that, we're looking forward to doing a family event which may reach more to some of the children who might think more about Harry Potter than the sort of older authors. Both are really important. We want to celebrate that and look at the future as well, about how we strengthen education and cultural exchange between Albania and the United Kingdom. And I think that's really important because we want to focus on the positives, and we want people also to see the positives of Albanian culture, because that will also help improve the image of Albania, which sometimes is only seen through negative prisms. And I want to make sure that the breadth of the diversity of Albania's culture and heritage is brought to the world and to the United Kingdom too.
Java kulturore shtrihet përtej Tiranës edhe në qytete të tjera?
Really important, it's for the whole country, so we'll be doing events elsewhere, in Shkodra, in Korça, and we hope that others will put on things as well. And of course this is only the first time, so we'll be hoping to do more in future years. But actually I think that's a really important point. I've been here now almost a year, and it's been a real pleasure to get around the country and to see the breadth of the diversity across the north, the south, the east, the west, and that's the people. It's the places, the beaches, the mountains, other places, but also then the culture. And I think that's something that together we can celebrate and really bring that together. I was lucky, of course, that I learnt Albanian partly up in Shkodra, so I got to really experience different parts of the country, not just Tirana. But of course Tirana is important, it's the capital, so we'll do things here as well.
Tirana është e rëndësishme edhe politikisht dhe ne festojmë 100 vjetorin e marrëdhënieve mes Shqipërisë dhe Britanisë. Çfarë ka ndryshuar, ambasador, dhe çfarë është sot kjo lidhje mes dy vendeve?
So look, since I was appointed, it was very clear that there was a lot that we could do more of in broader fields. We've always done a lot on things like organised crime, in dealing with democratisation and elections, and we'll continue doing those. But we agreed right at the beginning, and our ministers have agreed, it's the perfect moment to strengthen and deepen our relationship. So you see a whole range of visits with our ministers coming here, the Prime Minister going to London, and of course we'll have a new government in London soon, but I'm sure they will continue to see Albania as an important and close partner, because we're cooperating internationally now in the United Nations Security Council through NATO, on issues like Ukraine and Russia, but also I think we can do more on trade, on business and investment, and as I mentioned, on education and culture as well.
Zoti ambasador, ne folëm për artistët dhe këngëtarët shqiptaro-britanik që forcojnë marrëdhëniet mes dy vendeve. Por kemi edhe një problem, që janë emigrantët e palishëm që kalojnë në Britaninë e Madhe, dhe disa prej tyre, nuk po them pjesa më e madhe, po disa prej tyre janë dhe shqiptarë. Si e keni menduar ta zgjidhni këtë problem?
Do you know, Dennis, I'm really sad about this because young people are being exploited by criminal elements, being shown these TikTok videos saying, look, come to the UK, only a few £1,000s, you'll get a safe passage across. But the reality is that most of them will be detained and they'll be back in Albania, and they will have wasted not just money, but they will then not be able to travel to the United Kingdom again, and it will cause problems for them travelling internationally for the future. And of course what we want is for people to have the choice and the options to stay in Albania and have options to be successful, to study and to work here, but also to do the same in the United Kingdom or elsewhere. So that's something that I'm really determined to turn around. We're working very strongly on that. But my appeal to young people is don't be fooled by these people smugglers and traffickers who make it look like it's brilliant and easy and you'll be back here soon with a Ferrari. It's not like that. If you go, the only way you'll be able to pay off the debts you incur will be to get involved in drugs and crime, and think of the life that means for the future and for your families. So my message is, please don't do it.
Për këtë problem keni bashkëpunim dhe me qeverinë shqiptare?
Of course, we can't do it without partnerships, not just with the Albanian government, but with other governments across Europe and the world. But yes, we have a very strong collaboration with the government. There's always more we can do, and so we're discussing that regularly. But we have very close operational collaboration, whether that's with the police or others, but also politically, and really working out what could turn this around, what could make a difference.
Zoti ambasador, ka një perceptim mediatikisht se vëmendja juaj, pra e qeverisë huaj, ndaj Shqipërisë është rritur së fundmi. Pse?
Well, there are a number of factors in that. I mean, first off, Albania actually is one of our most important partners internationally. We, since Brexit, have been looking at which are the democratic partners that can be our most important allies for the future. And Albania is one of them. We work together very closely in the United Nations Security Council, in NATO, in other fora. In fact, Albania and the UK almost always vote along similar lines in international fora. So we're very strong partners internationally. And then, of course, regionally in Europe, we're very much connected and our peoples are connected. You know, there's over 100,000, maybe 150,000 Albanians now in the UK, most of them doing legitimate jobs, contributing to British society and contributing to Albania. So I think those people-to-people links will increase. There are more tourists coming each year now, and this year I think we have seen even more tourists coming, both people coming for wider tourism and also for festivals here. And I was just this weekend at the Sunnyhill Festival. It was great to have a British, Kosovan, Albanian festival here, and we hope to see more of that. But then, of course, politically too. And of course, when there are problems, whether that's around organised crime or illegal migration that you mentioned, that means we have to collaborate more closely. So I can only see this increasing and strengthening over time.
Në këtë drejtim, zoti ambasador, populli shqiptar kanë realisht nevojë për ndihmën tuaj, për ndihmën e Shtetit Bashkuar të Amerikës, dhe kur ju publikuat se ka një listë të zezë për politikanët e korruptuar në Shqipëri, përfshirë këtu dhe zotin Berisha, me njëherë pati entuziazëm nga qytetarët, nga media shqiptare, se përveç Amerikës edhe një shtet tjetër, shumë i rëndësishëm, po e ndihmon Shqipërinë në këtë drejtim. Pse keni nisur të aplikoni këtë lloj metode?
So look, it's really important that all of us do everything we can across the world. This is not just exclusive to Albania, to end impunity and to increase accountability. And we can only do that by working together and taking our own actions that support each other. So the first thing is there needs to be accountability here in Albania. It's really important that there is rule of law. It's really important that there are institutions that can tackle crime and corruption effectively. And we need to support that. But we also take our own actions. So that if somebody is known as being involved in crime and corruption, and sentenced here particularly, then of course they should no longer be welcome to travel to the United Kingdom or indeed to have their funds and money in the United Kingdom. And so that's where we will take independent action. Now, as you know, Sir Stuart Peach, our Western Balkans Special Envoy for the Prime Minister, announced the first wave of actions that we had taken, and we will continue to do that. And it's really important that this is something that just is routine, so that there are consequences when people are taking actions that are illegal and are promoting crime and corruption.
Zoti ambasador, kur ju thoni që këta persona duhet të ndëshkohen, këta persona, pavarësisht kush janë, nuk do të jenë të përshtatshëm për të qenë nesër në rast se vinë në pushtet për të bashkëpunuar me ju, pra nuk do t'i pranoni si koleg ose si homolog?
So look, it's really difficult, isn't it? Because you know, we don't like to stop contact with anyone, but there is a line. And if people are involved in repeat efforts that actually continue to promote crime and corruption, and then, of course, this is a real problem, it gets entrenched in the system, then it does make it difficult to have further engagement. Now, we take a balanced approach. This is not targeting any one individual, any one political party. We will always take a balanced approach that is based on the interests of the British people and, we hope, the interests of the Albanian people. So we will do our best to keep that approach on the line that really is in the interests of the people of Albania and the United Kingdom. But I'd like to say another thing, and that's, of course, we're approaching elections. So as we approach the local elections next year and then general elections beyond that, there's a really important thing that people can do, and there's a really important thing that politicians can do. And for people, it's to demand an end to crime and corruption, and it's to demand that the people put forward for elections are free from crime and corruption. And then, of course, what politicians should do, and this is our appeal to them, make sure that when the political parties are considering candidates for election, that they are selected based on whether they are involved in crime and corruption, and so the electorate are presented with clean individuals.
Zoti ambasador, edhe për pak humor, me qenë se jemi në javën kulturore, nuk e di nëse dini apo jo, por ju pas ambasadorës Juri Kim jeni ambasadori më i rëndësishëm në Shqipëri në syt e publikut shqiptar, pas listës së zezë të paktën publikuar. Është e gjatë kjo listë?
Well, look, it's going to be a challenge if I start to put into competition who's the most important ambassador. I don't believe in competition between governments, I believe in collaboration. So we will aim to make sure that we forge really positive collaboration. Look, each country will take a different approach to how to tackle these issues, but we will have a common view on the importance of tackling rule of law, tackling accountability and ending impunity. And I think if we each do everything in our powers that we can do, then actually Albania has a bright future, because I already see Albania moving in a progress. We mentioned tourism, the economy is developing, but that would be so much greater if only we tackle these difficult issues as well. And now is the moment to do it. Now that Albania has the chance to move into the European Union, we still support Albanians' aspirations to be a member of the European Union, even if the British people chose to be outside. We still support Albanians wanting to see a Euro-Atlantic trajectory. And so if we can together tackle the hard issues, then actually we will get that exponential positive. Because Albania's got so much potential, so much to offer, that I think we can really turn this into a real positive.
Zoti ambasador, ju nuk e bëni publike listën e të korruptuarve apo personave të korruptuar, por ne do ta kuptojmë tek kandidatët nesër në zgjedhje?
Well, this is going to be really important, that it's for the Albanian people to choose the people that they want to lead them. You know, this has to be a free, independent democracy and elections that match that. So we will do everything we can to shore up democracy, rule of law and so on, and use our support to do so. But you know, it really is that moment where I think Albanians have often hoped for the change that's needed. But of course, many are leaving because they're so frustrated. They can't get on politically, they can't get on economically. So I think if that can move forward, it's going to be a really more important moment for the future.
Zoti ambasador, ne folëm pak më parë për Kosovën. Ju e dini që ka marrëveshje për njohjen e dokumentave mes Serbisë dhe Kosovës, por unë mbaj mend që Britania e Madhe ka qenë ndoshta vendi shumë insistues që Serbia të godite dhe Kosova të shpalte pavarësinë. Por nga viti 99 dhe deri tani gjërat duket sikur kanë ngecur. Pse? Dhe keni një prognozë se si mund të jetë ardhmja e Kosovës?
Well, you know that we've been right from the outset a very strong supporter of Kosovo and its independence, and we will continue to be. But we're also a partner for the whole region, for Serbia, for others. And so actually Kosovo and Serbia resolving the differences between them is really important, and we're very pleased to see that step to sort out identity documents. But of course there's lots of other steps that need to be taken, and so we would really encourage all governments, but particularly the government of Kosovo and the government of Serbia, to redouble their efforts. This is the moment in time. If there's anything that Russia's invasion of Ukraine has shown us, is that we cannot afford to be divided. We have to really move positively, improve political connections, improve economic connections, improve cultural connections, and resolve the differences between us. And only then will we all succeed.
E ka sot Kosova të njëjtën mbështetje të Britanisë si në vitin 99?
Yes, of course, and it's always going to be something that we will sustain. You know, we don't start these initiatives and then lose focus, and our support is for the Western Balkan region. In fact, I would say that actually the United Kingdom's focus on the Western Balkans is as high as it's ever been and increasing. That's why we have a Prime Minister's Special Envoy for the region. That's why we had all of the Western Balkans Prime Ministers back to the United Kingdom, foreign ministers, and we're continuing that exchange. We're also increasing our assistance to the region. So, for example, we've allocated £10 billion of UK export finance to support business and exports from the UK to the Western Balkans, £2 billion of that for Albania. So I think that support will only grow and continue over time.
Cili është mendimi juaj, zoti ambasador, për iniciativën Open Balkan?
So look, the Open Balkans obviously is a regional initiative, and our support is for any regional initiative that is inclusive. But of course there's a snag in that, because at the moment it hasn't got all of the countries in the region in it. But it's really important that these things that can bring better regional security, better regional economic development are supported. Now, whether that's through the European accession process, whether that's through the Berlin process that the German Chancellor has announced they will re-energise this year, whether that's through the Open Balkans, we see it's really important that the region really builds connections across borders, but it needs to do it in the right way and make sure that's inclusive so it works for everyone and doesn't exclude anyone.
Ndërkohë, zoti ambasador, ne folëm për Ukrainën dhe agresionin rus në Ukrainë. Ka ndodhur diçka para disa ditësh në Shqipëri që dy shtetas rus u kapën duke përgjuar pranë një baze ose një ndërmarrje ushtarake në Shqipëri në Gramsh. Ata po hetohen për spionazh. Çfarë mendoni se po ndodh në botë? Kemi një rend të ri botëror, kemi një rikthim të luftës së ftohtë dhe si e shikoni aleancën mes Britanisë dhe Shqipërisë në këtë kuadër?
Well, it's a complicated set of questions there. I won't comment on the specific incident because it's obviously being under investigation and we hope that it will be dealt with effectively. But the situation in terms of Russia and Ukraine more widely, of course, is a major shift in how the world is going to work for the future. Now, we certainly hope it's not going to end up with a third World War or even a major war across Europe. But this isn't only a European regional issue, this is a global set of issues. It has thrown into sharp relief how we have to collaborate together much more strongly. Now, Albania is one of our strongest partners in promoting what needs to happen on Ukraine and in confronting Russia's aggression, and that's both through NATO and militarily, but also in the international leadership that Albania has been given, including through its presidency of the UN Security Council and continued membership. So that we hugely appreciate. Now, that comes with risks for Albania and for the Albanian people. You know, unfortunately, Russia will see us together as enemies, and we have to expect that there will be very difficult incidents. But together we can confront those, we can support each other, and we will continue to do that. So I think, unfortunately, we need to, as we discussed with the Prime Ministers, think the unthinkable, but then let's make sure we're supporting each other to address the issues.
Si e shikoni luftën, zoti ambasador, përfundimin e saj? Do të ketë një fund kjo luftë?
Look, it's a really difficult situation to see how this is going to end. I mean, we of course would love it to finish as soon as possible. I mean, we call out Russia for an illegal invasion of Ukraine that must end, Russia must withdraw, and Ukraine's independence needs to be fully respected, and the whole of Ukraine move forward as an independent country. But how to achieve that is obviously the middle of a continued military conflict, and it goes much wider than that, and it spills over into the region, obviously already with the refugees and other dimensions. So we've all got to redouble efforts to end the war and to help move things forward, but I'm not optimistic that it is going to be that soon, but we should all work towards that.
Po është perëndimi I bashkuar pavarësisht krizës së çmimeve?
Look, we have to, as the West, continue to work together much more strongly. You know, it is a moment of opportunity as well. Our Foreign Secretary has called for reinforcing the network of liberty across those like-minded democracies, but also to put our economic interests alongside each other. And we've all got to reconfigure where our supply chains come from, because if you rely on Russian gas or you rely on supplies from China, and then suddenly that becomes a risk, we've got to address that. So all of us are having to adapt. And that's very difficult at a time where that also impacts on individuals' cost of living. And it's going to be a difficult next 6 months, but I think together we can get through that and then support the future.
Zoti ambasador, dhe një pyetje të fundit, ambasadoria amerikane në 100 vjetorin e marrëdhënieve Shqipëri-SBA u shpreh se do të jemi bashk edhe 100 vite të tjera. Po ju, cili është mesazhi juaj për popullin shqiptar?
Well, look, Albania and the United Kingdom have a much longer history than that together. So while we are celebrating 100 years of our bilateral relations and we want to look backwards, we need to look forwards many more years than 100 years, because actually this is something where we are fundamentally connected, our peoples are connected, and then whether it's through culture and the British Week that we're celebrating this week, whether it's through politics, whether it's through economics and business, we are going to be strong partners together for the future.
Faleminderit, ishte shumë kënaqësi.
Shumë kënaqësi. Faleminderit juve.